Some AEW talent aren't happy with the current direction of the company as they voice frustration over delays in creative plans being relayed to them. It's a very interesting story in All Elite Wrestling, as it always is. I'm going to cover it. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. I am, of course, Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. We go to the Wrestling Observer Newsletter's Dave Meltzer, who was quoted as saying the following when talking about some creative problems that have been happening in AEW. Okay, here's the quote. So much of the stuff is, oh my God, this is the most Dave Melt. I love it whenever they quote Dave. I will get to this quote in a second, but I love it whenever they quote Dave because it sounds like Dave Meltzer. They don't take anything out to make this man sound better. It's so funny. Anyway, if you follow AEW, you know that a lot of the stuff is being decided at much later periods than previous, Guys are getting their information, what they're doing, and the decisions are being made later. So that's just how it is. I mean, there are times, the day of the show where you don't even know. It's almost at times like we used to talk about WWE, which is also very frustrating for talent. So AEW, the new WWE as far as creative, question mark, kind of, maybe a little bit, but not quite, is the real answer there. But interesting notes there from Dave Meltzer. One thing I will say as an immediate reaction to this is that this isn't really that surprising. I feel like if you have followed the news around the product, or if you've even watched some of the product, a lot of this has been highlighted in previous reports from multiple outlets, not just Meltzer, but it's been kind of hinted that AEW plans tend to be thought of the day of, at least delivered the day of, or be coming together pretty quickly. And, it's not like in WWE where, well, not like how it's supposed to work in WWE where, you have these plans laid out at least months long-term in advance, and then some, of course, are being rewritten and fine-tuned in the days leading up to the show. But it's interesting to hear this from Dave because, I think that I understand the frustration. I really do, because again, like he said, a lot of this kind of is similar to frustration that many people had in WWE when Vince McMahon was ripping up scripts, when Vince McMahon was rewriting the show, or and talent were just like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm about to go out in a few hours. Can someone please tell me what the hell is going on? And from the perspective of a talent, of course that's frustrating, right? Because you would at least like to have an idea of what you're doing. You would at least like to know, like, okay, cool, tonight I'm wrestling X and X, or I'm in a backstage segment with so-and-so, and I can pre-plan stuff. We can go over the lines. We can get some chemistry going to make that segment as great as possible. And when that doesn't happen, of course you're going to be mad. Of course you're going to be frustrated. And, this was something that we kind of saw hinted towards in AEW's own program in All Access. If you go back and watch some of that show, remember Sammy Guevara? Sammy Guevara in that show, one of the weird running storylines was, or in that show was like, yeah, when am I going to be on TV? And, it was up and down, and Tony Khan pulled out this absolutely insane, I don't know what to call it, journal, diary, paper, scrapbook, whatever you want to call it, of the way he lays out his plans. It's like this pie chart that only Tony Khan can, or not pie chart, but a chart that only Tony Khan can understand. And I was looking at it just going like, my goodness, to be in that man's brain for about 5 minutes. Could you imagine? But it was frustrating because Sammy was like, when am I going to be on TV? I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I'm wrestling Bryan tonight? Okay, that would have been nice to know last week. Things like that, of course, as a talent, you would find frustrating. And one of the things we don't talk about in terms of AEW, right, is the fact that you have a few big-time contracts reportedly rumored to be coming up. Ricky Starks is a guy. Andrade El Idolo is a guy whose contracts are coming up and who potentially could end up making the jump. And Ricky Starks is someone who has been, a little bit hinting towards, like maybe potentially parting ways with AEW, just like a little bit. He's flirted around with that. He's taken some shots. People like to point at the fact that he was backstage at Royal Rumble. I'm like, don't pay any attention to that. That doesn't mean anything because WWE superstars are backstage at AEW sometimes. AEW superstars are backstage at WWE sometimes, visiting friends, visiting family. Yeah, like a lot of times it's visiting family. But so don't read too much into that part of it. But like these are people, Ricky Starks especially, who like has kind of suffered from that creative problem that AEW has, in that like plans change and like the stuff comes last minute. And I think if you go back and watch that promo that he cut on the Collision before All Out 2023, he spoke about how, like, I've done everything to prove that I'm the guy. I've done everything to prove that I am absolute. And every single time I get like my moment, it's kind of taken away from me. Something changes, something happens, and he's sick of it. And there are a lot of parallels, I think, that you could draw. And again, I'm not saying that I have insider knowledge of this, but like you could draw parallels to that and some problems that we've reported to have had backstage in AEW. Like it's just the truth. And sometimes that manifests itself into promos. But all that to say, I mean, of course, I think AEW, one thing to need to remember is it's a very young company. This is a company that is now 4 years old. That and for them to be where they are is an accomplishment. That doesn't mean they're perfect. They are not perfect by any means, and nor will they likely ever be perfect. No company, no entity, nothing is really ever going to be perfect unless you're Bryan Danielson wrestling in the ring. But you need to understand that you have to strive to be better and strive to be great. And I think one way to do that would be hopefully fine-tuning the creative process a little bit more than they have it, because it sounds like some talent are frustrated by it. So we'll see what happens, though, guys. If you haven't already done so, it's a great time to smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. I want to hear from you in the comments section below. And until next time, keep it real.